All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the last session, the Peer Huddle 7 of Leap 3.2 for the year 2025. Because probably the next time we see each other virtually, it will be in 2026 and at our next level. Good evening, and once again, a warm welcome to the seventh Peer Huddle of Leap 3.0. It's Christmas Eve, and I think we'll start today's session by singing a couple of carols. So I've posted them in the chat box, and please feel free to unmute and it's not please feel free. Please unmute and let us sing together. It can sound like cacophony, it's okay. But all we need to do is spread that festive cheer as we begin today's session. All right, it's something that we've all heard. Jingle bells, and we wish you a Merry Christmas. All right. The lyrics are in the chat box, and let's start in three, two, one.
Dashing
Dashing through the
Dashing through the
snow
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 in a
in
in
one
a
one
horse
horse
one-horse
open
open
sleigh.
sledge.
over the
Over
field,
the
Over the
fields we
fields we
go,
go,
laughing
all
laughing
the
all the
way.
way.
bells
Bells
on
on
Bells
bobtail
bobtails
on
ring,
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 making
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 spirits
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 bright.
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 What
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 fun it
fun
is
it
fun
is
to
to
ride a
ride
sing a
riding
a
sleighing
sliding
song tonight.
tonight.
Hey,
Oh,
jingle
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 bells,
bells,
jingle
jingle
all
all
the
the
way.
way.
Oh,
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 what
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 fun
fun
it
it
is
is
to
to
ride in
ride
a
in a
one-horse
one-horse
open
open
sleigh.
sleigh.
Hey,
Hey,
jingle
jingle bells, jingle bells,
Jingle
jingle all the
all the
way.
way.
Oh,
Oh, what
what
fun
fun
it
it
is
is
to
to ride in
ride
a
in a one-horse open
one-horse
sleigh.
open sleigh.
Merry
We
Christmas,
wish
wish you a
You a
Merry
Merry Christmas.
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 We
We
wish
wish
you
you
a
a
Merry
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 Christmas.
Christmas.
We
We
wish
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 you
you
a
you
a
a
Merry
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 Christmas
Christmas
Christmas,
and
and
a
a
a
Happy
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 New
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 Year.
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 Yes, and a
Good
Good
happy
tidings
tidings
we
Tidings we
we
bring
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 to
to
you
to
you
you
and
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 your
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 King.
King.
kid.
We
We
wish
wish
you
you
a
a
Merry
Merry
Christmas
Christmas
And
and
a
a
and a
Happy
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 New
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 Year.
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 Fantastic. Give
Oh,
yourselves a huge round of applause for I feel definitely in a festive mood, and I hope you have too. On that note, all of you can go on mute as I lay down a few ground rules before we start today's session. Please do rename yourself with your Leap ID because this will help us to move you easily into the breakout room today, considering it's a peer huddle. I hope you are seated in a good place of internet connectivity and ready with your workbooks. I think case studies will be shared to you shortly. But please be on mute unless you are required to come forward and speak. We would encourage all of you to come on video and make this an engaging discussion for all of us. I see 33 members in the room, and I request you to reach out to your fellow leapers and ask them to quickly join in because we have already started our session. On that note, it's now time for me to welcome our Leap 3.0 chair. But before that, let me once again wish each one of you a very Merry Christmas and a happy 2026. On that note, over to our lead chair, the reason we are all here, learning, leaping, and leading. Please put your hands together for our Leap 3.0 chair, Distinguished Toastmaster Jyotika Shetty.
thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Daryl. As usual, a fantastic start. And today it completely synchronizes with the festive mood. So happy Christmas and a happy New Year. Season's greetings to all my lovely leapers. And may this coming New Year be even better than 2025. Health, wealth, prosperity, and your energy to complete leap. All right, warm welcome again. So we're going to dive directly into the important matter because I don't want to waste even a single minute. Today's session is going to be a very important session. Now, last week we had smart choices during crisis. Now, how many of you remember this session? For what are the reasons you remember it for? For the crisis, for the smart choices, or the difficulty? What is it?
Crisis.
The crisis? All right, that's a very good news. Because as leaders, crisis is an inevitable part of your journey. And imagine if you do not have the technique, at least the adaptability to do those changes, to make those correct choices, it's not going to be a good sight. As it is, crisis is not going to be bed of roses. It is going to be painful. So last week we had Raghavan who came here and spoke about smart choices during crisis. Now today we are seeing Raghavan here around, and today is a Peer Huddle. You are all used to seeing a mentor facilitating this session. But today we have Raghavan again, who has taken time to be here and support us to take this thought of crisis forward. Not crisis essentially, but to find solutions for crisis. So first of all, let's thank or give Raghavan a huge round of applause for being here, taking time to come here from his busy schedule to help us grow as leaders. Now, why this is important is, okay, let me start with a question. How many of you are clear about your leadership journey ahead? How many of you have at least thought, what are the leadership roles you want to take up in Toastmasters as well as outside? Outside when I say your career. How many of you have some clarity? Okay, Meenakshi says she has some clarity. Karthik, Ramprasad, Pandi, very good. Lata. All right, I think quite a few of us, about 36 are here. Still not enough actually, still not enough to have clarity. Now we are in the 4th level of our LEAP 3.0 program. We are finishing, this is the last session. We're getting into the 5th session, 5th level next month. And that's in another 2 weeks' time. At this juncture, it's very important for us to have clarity as to which direction we are heading. Now, how many of you have faced this situation where you know you want to take up a role ahead, but then you have no clarity of the complexity that role comes with? I want to be a manager, I want to be a team leader, I want to be a division director, I want to be an area director. But when I get into the role, I realize, oh my God, I didn't sign up for this. It happens, right? See, one of the objectives of LEAP 3.0, as our district director has clearly mentioned, or I have kept repeating, is that he wanted to create leaders outside of Toastmasters who can create impact that speaks volume of Toastmasters. But one of the essentials or one of the key objectives of this particular transition is for you to understand what that role entails in the future and prepare yourself now. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you want to take up a role, say for example, you wanted to take up a president's role or an area director's role tomorrow, but today itself, you have to understand what are the complexities of this role, and you prepare yourself from today. Please, can we mute yourself, please, if you can? So it's very important for you to understand those complexities and prepare yourself. This is a mark of a good leader. Instead of getting into that position and just getting lost, we want to prepare good leaders, and that is the whole purpose of LEAP 3.0. Therefore, at this juncture, it becomes very important to bring this aspect out, is that last time we learned how to make decisions during smart choices during crisis. Now today we are going to go through, we're going to have this session in 2 folds. The first one is we are going to learn the Cynefin Model or Cynefin framework, which is essentially a framework which will help you to make better decisions while considering the entire scenario, different scenarios. Raghavan will talk more about it. But the second part of this particular breakout room today is you're going to spend 15 minutes planning your roadmap ahead. You're not going to do it in this particular session, but you're going to review the document that is uploaded. And therefore, it's very essential you manage your time well today. 40 minutes for your breakout room session and 15 minutes to look at this particular document which is uploaded, which is your roadmap ahead. And the session, after the session, you have an assignment where plan your future, plan your leadership roles that you're going to take ahead. Things will change, no doubt about it. Nothing is set in stone, but at least you have an idea which direction you're headed to. Therefore, please focus, ask as many questions as possible. Why it is important to review this particular, the roadmap is because you have to write down the questions and ask Raghavan if you have any questions. And you're going to use this model, what you're going to learn, in order to apply it in this roadmap that you're going to create. So we're bringing 2 things together. So therefore, this particular session is very important, and I'm looking at it in the LEAP 3.0 objective perspective. This is where I'm really looking forward to capture the whole essence of Leap 3.0. And please understand that your attention is very, very important. All right. I will not spend more time now. I'll quickly hand over the session to Raghavan, who will take this forward and set the tone for this entire session. Over to you, Raghavan. Warm welcome and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jyotika. Good evening, all, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all. And as Jyotika said, I'm sure 2026 is going to see you leaping ahead as leaders. So, the most important thing is we are going to talk about one particular aspect of the last week's discussion, which is going to be a very important tool that you can use in your own leadership journey, whether within the club, Toastmasters Club, or outside in your own workplace or in your life. So, in the last week, we talked about many things. And one important thing that we talked about was the Cynefin model. The word Cynefin itself is derived from studying the landscape or topography in order to navigate it successfully. Okay, it came from I think, a Dutch word, and this is how the model got developed. The original developer, I think, I had shared the Harvard Business Review article and also a couple of other things. If you really go through that, this has been put to use in many different industries and many different situations outside of business, as well as the not for profit and personal situations, managing sports clubs, etc., etc. So it becomes very, very important. And I also thought after the last session, it is also important to underline certain important leadership behaviors. So what I tried was the easier way to kind of remember that would be to put it through a uh, acronym. So the leap and leadership both were lending themselves to put them together. So instead of presenting it and showing a document and taking a lot of time, I have just shared it with Jyotika. Maybe she can share that with you. You can use it as a reference. Quickly, this is about lifelong learning, living and leading a legacy. And this is about empathizing, energizing, and evolving continuously. It's about being adaptable, being action oriented rather than thinking too much and analyzing too much. But at the same time, action oriented, backed by analysis, required analysis. And then how do you being proactive, pragmatic, and positive, practically, not a toxic positivity, how practically positive and decisive. This is where this framework is very, very important. Many of us believe that leadership is about having one set of traits throughout whatever happens. But this framework challenges that. Whatever is the personality that we carry, whatever is the tendencies we may carry, what is more important is understanding the context and situation and making the right decision. The smart choices are about understanding the context and situation and making the right decision. So, from that point of view, this is a very, very important framework. So, therefore, I request you to in the handout that might have been shared. There are 2 pages, one 3 pages. One is a cover page. Ignoring that, the page number 2 gives you the acronyms, which you can refer to repeatedly. So I'm not going to spend too much time. But if you go to the Cynefin model itself, in the last page, so that's where you would find a fair amount of writing which is done or typing which is done. So we are going to talk about it in the next probably about 10 to 11 minutes. And when you go into the breakout rooms, don't look at them only for the case in hand. The case in hand is a prompt. Whatever case study that is being shared with you is a prompt. But how would you use this case analysis to bring this concept to work for you so that you can put to use outside of this session, outside of this peer huddle, outside of this Leap 3.0 program in future in defining your own leadership journey. So that is the most important thing. And before I jump into the Cynefin model, I also want to emphasize one more important thing. And I'm sure as Toastmasters, you are all very well aware. Any organization like Toastmasters is a not for profit. Can I go ahead? Yeah, not-for-profit organization, which actually creates a value beyond the value which is derived by its individual members. Of course, you get benefited. Of course, you get strengthened in terms of your communication skills and your leadership skills, etc. But how do you put them to use in creating a larger good more than yourself? So you have a huge opportunity to volunteer for a leadership position and do something to hone your leadership skills. And in my opinion, Cynefin model is an excellent tool that can be used to read different situations and arrive at the right decisions. So, having said that, you would have found a 2 by 2 matrix, and then the bottom right hand corner reads as the known knowns or the clear situation. This is something like a regular club activity, regular, let's say, session which is supposed to happen. There are rules. Okay, you have 8 minutes to speak, and somebody at the seventh minute gives you a prompt, and then you have to stop at the 8 minute. So everything is clear. There is no surprises here. So in a clear situation, follow the best practice. Everything is known. Follow the best practice. All you have to do is sense, categorize, and respond. So even within the framework, if a situation arises, you need to either rush up or prolong to meet that deadline and deliver what you are supposed to deliver. And as you move up on the quadrant, from the known knowns, you go to the known unknowns, which is the complicated kind of a situation. Here, what happens? The sensing becomes a little bit difficult because there are a few unknowns. You are coming to know about that unknown newly. Say, for example, from a member, you are thrust into a project lead position. That is a project. And as I was joining, you guys were talking about going on some kind of a tour or something. So if somebody is nominated as a coordinator for this tour, that is a leadership position. So there are many unknowns. Like Jyotika said, she is not very familiar with the geography of North Kerala. Assuming you are going somewhere in North Kerala. Okay. So how do you really plan? So you need an expert. So she talked to somebody who is familiar with North Kerala and understanding whether train is better, by road is better, etc., etc. So there is a way to seek an expert's help, and while doing that, being rational. Okay, you have an objective. The expert may have different opinions, expert may have different points of view about a situation, but you have an objective in hand. So how much ever you listen from the expert, what you need to decide, okay, that you still need to decide. So you need to be rational and you need to learn quickly, okay, as it's a new situation, there are unknowns. So how do you get to know them? So what is working, what is not working? And therefore you respect the expertise of the individual, but you make your own decision. You are not leaving the decision to the expert. Then you move sideways from the known knowns, the known unknowns, to the unknown unknowns, okay, which is on the sheet on the top left hand corner, which is the complex situation. The complex situation is it's about the multiple factors in force and they are interconnected, but we do not know the interconnection between them. And therefore, it is very, very important that we need to probe what is connected to what and then start sensing what is happening and then responding. And the fourth one, as you come down on the bottom left, is the chaotic. Chaotic, as the situation is explained here, everything is new. Okay, this is there is something which has been disrupted. So this is, you do not know what you know, and you also do not know what you do not know. So what is more important is if there is some priority which needs to be addressed. Say, for example, God forbid it should not happen. A group goes on a trip, and it is a road trip. And you are on a hill. Let's say you all gone to some place like Idiki, and uphill, the bus stops. So the first job is to get everybody out of the bus because it is sliding down the slope. So how do you do that? So what is more important at that juncture? So make the decision, act, then probe, then sense, then respond. Okay. So each situation, so we talked about it, and you can get into more details when you read through your accompanying notes and also what has been shared in the previous session. So as you go through it, it very clearly tells us that the leadership is not about having one set of beliefs, one set of values, and one set of behaviors to deal with every situation. You need to be understanding the situation. You need to be sensing and taking a decision. In some cases, when everything is straightforward, follow the rules, be done with that. It's very clear. Okay, there is nothing to worry about. Many a times, what we also do is a clear situation. If we do not understand that it is clear, we tend to make it complex or complicated by not following the rule and trying to reinvent the wheel. So we should avoid doing that. And similarly, when we move up, how do we sense? And if you really look at it, if there is a center where it is a confused or a confusing situation, which is worse than the chaotic situation. Say, for example, you might have heard about what's happening in the past few days in Bangladesh. There are some medical students who have from India who have gone and they've been pursuing medical education in Chittagong or Dhaka, and suddenly there is a mob violence, and then they do not know what to do. So imagine such a situation. So you do not know where I am, what I am supposed to do. So quickly, this framework helps you to look at different elements of that and what is clear to me, take a clear decision. What you think as the complicated or complex, act accordingly. So this gives you a thinking framework. And again, this is not the gospel truth. Okay. So you need to modify it to your situation. Like any decision framework or management framework, this is based on a lot of observations, but it cannot predict what situation you are in and give you a manual for each of that. So therefore, this is a framework, in my opinion, for a leadership journey. This, if it is internalized, this can help you to make the right decision at the right moment and thereby enhancing your leadership experience and the impact that you create as leaders to the organizations or to the clubs or to the community that you serve. So I hope this framework is understandable, easy, and as you go through the case studies that have been given to you or to be given, as you go into the breakout rooms and you start discussing, should you have any questions, I'm here to answer your questions. And I hope that that helps.
So, Raghavan, what we could do is before they go into the breakout room, 5 minutes till 7:45. That's the time period, right, Daryl? According to the agenda, the breakout room starts at 7:45 or 7:50. So we can
7:50.
spend 5 to 10 minutes with questions because they must have done their reading. So in case if there's
Sure.
any question, let them put it here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Yes, DTM Bharati, please go ahead.
Yeah, Raghavan,
Yeah.
I'm clear about the clear and complicated and chaotic. Now, this complex and confused sort of gets overlapped in my mind.
Confused will be overlapping with everything basically because the confused state is not about the context. The confused state is about our understanding of the context. Okay. Say, for example, I'll try to give you an example of a complex situation through a live example, which is, let's say, COVID. Okay. I'm not talking about the entire COVID period. I'm talking about the 22nd or 24th of March when the lockdown was announced. Okay. And, and let's imagine one particular situation. Somebody who was studying in a college, let's say somebody who is pursuing medical education in Manipal, Manipal city, but the person is from outside Karnataka. Okay. And for whatever reason, if this person has to travel on that day, it is a complex situation. There is a lockdown, the airports are shut, and there is no road transport available. and still this person needs to get out of that place. And I'm not sure about how the Manipal institutions handle the situation, but in many other institutions in different parts of India, the students were told the hostel is shutting down because of this lockdown, and therefore we expect you to get out of this place. Okay, if such a situation happens, it is complex. Okay, it is complex in because there are multiple dimensions for a given person. I mean, for a local person, let's say there is somebody who is from Udupi but staying in the hostel. Okay, Manipal to Udupi, the person decides to walk, he could do that. He or she could do that. Okay, but a person even staying in Mangalore and staying in the hostel, it is complex basically because he or she cannot walk all the way up to Mangalore, right? And for a person from outside the state, it is even more difficult and complex basically because there are no buses, no trains, no flights. So, how the hell am I going to do? So, how do you approach this situation? So, you probe for what are the alternatives available to me. Should I really leave? Leaving is it a necessary? Is it an alternative? Should I take that decision? Or if there is a classmate or a classmate's friend who can help you in managing your stay until things are clear, okay, so you were able to navigate that situation. So that is the complexity, the complex situation kind of a thing. Another example is a very softer kind of an issue. Let's say you were I don't know how the club is organized. So you might have chapters, okay? You might have local chapters. Let's say you are the president or the head person of the Mangalore chapter, okay? And when you took over, there were about 85 members. And on a monthly basis, the numbers are dwindling. Let's say about 5 people, 10 people are leaving every 1 or 2 months. So you are worried, and how are you going to solve the problem? Okay. So, how would you know, first of all, what is really causing this? I mean, it is only coincidental that you took over and then it started. You may not be the reason. You can't assume that you are the reason. Just bringing in the earlier person, it's not going to reverse. Maybe something else. So, how do you really put your leadership hat, and what is that leadership behavior of yours will help you to understand the situation? Am I making sense?
Yeah, sure. Complex is not very complex now. It is that confused. I feel. Am I closer to the truth if I say confused is a state where I have no information. I lack enlightenment. I lack
Okay.
data.
Okay, maybe by the benefit of others, even if I take a minute extra, I will try to explain it. Okay, I'm going to give a completely different, offlandish kind of an example. Okay, I'm trekking. Okay, and it's a thick woods. Okay, and uh, before getting into the place, the brochure says that there are no wild animals in the vicinity, etc. But I hear a roar. Okay, I think I hear a roar. Okay. So that is a cue. It is not an information. It is a cue that something that I have heard. Right. So if I can start assuming there are tigers, brochure was wrong. Okay. Or brochure was right when it was printed. And there is a national park somewhere nearby, and the tiger decided to stray only when I started trekking. Okay. So confused is not about the context. The context is neutral. The context remains what it is. The context is about how I am perceiving the context. The cue, I can perceive it as I don't know what this sound is. Okay, I think it is a roar. So to be safe, what I can do is if I have a communication equipment, I can start calling somebody and ask for help. I think I heard a roar. So I'm here. This is my coordinates, and I need help. And then go to a place which you think it is safer from such a predator, if at all it existed. Or another decision is probe the roar itself. Go towards this source of the sound to see whether it is a roar or somebody else was snoring. I don't know. Okay, so this is confused situation is about I am being confused about I do not know what the context is.
Okay, yeah, I'll go with that.
Now, if
Thank
you
you, thank
still
you.
have any nagging doubts, we can talk about it at later
Sure.
stage. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
We have Sunil, who's raised his hand. Sunil, please go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Raghavan. I had this query on the chaotic situation. It is mentioned that unknown knowns, right? So is it like what is known to others is unknown to us? Is that how we perceive that?
See, when if you refer back to one of the slides which was shown earlier, this known unknown is on two parameters. Okay.
Yes, right.
You are familiar with the domain. Okay. And the emerging situation, the clarity of the emerging situation. Okay. So you are let's say, a software engineer. Okay. You are very familiar with the domain. You have spent, let's say, about 15, 20, whatever number of years, and you have a very good education about software and you know ins and outs of what you are doing. So your domain is known to you. Okay. The emerging situation, there is a bug which is not going away. Okay, you have tried everything. You have looked at the logic. You have looked at the way the codes of different codes have been assembled, and you have looked at everything. But still, there is a bug which is coming back in a different form. Okay, so the emerging situation is not known to you.
Okay.
Okay, so this
Okay.
is where. So in such situation, let's say in most of such situation, you will have a deadline to meet. Okay, if despite the bug you need to deliver something, so what will you do? That is the act part of it. While you are doing it, how would you kind of probably isolate the bug in such a way that it doesn't affect the whole product or the whole delivery? Or act could also be proactively going to the client saying that this bug is really bothersome. Okay, and I anticipate if this bug continues, let's say it's a financial services company. Okay, and there are compliance requirements, there are customers' data which is being handled, and if you feel this bug could be a security threat in future, could be. So you go to the client and tell them that, boss, this is the problem. So that's an act. So that is the act part of it, and then you continue to sense and what could be wrong, right, and then how this could be managed. I hope I
Sure.
was able to explain myself.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Should we now open the breakout rooms? Any questions? Any more questions? Welcome back, everyone.
Everybody's come with broad smiles.
Was it? Did you all manage to do both the things, or you're still doing the first assignment, the case study?
No, we
Case
were
study.
able to manage.
We're able
we
to
are
manage.
Broad
We're able to
smiling.
manage.
Okay, okay,
We
that's
still
good.
had
Very.
time left.
Oh, you still had time left?
We have only 5 people, one group, single group.
Oh, yeah, right, right. True, true, true. That's true. All right, I think let's now quickly jump into the debriefing and I'll hand over the session to Raghavan. Raghavan, over to you.
How do we, Jyotika, question, an
go-
administrative question, how do we debrief? Let them,
Let them talk about each of the case because they're very
yeah.
small cases anyway. So first they'll talk about they'll just read out the case and those questions that are there, they'll give their answer and you can add your 2 cents to it, or if they have any questions, they can put forth the question. At the
Sure.
same time, they can also ask questions, or maybe we could keep the assignment questions towards the end. Right? All right. Okay. So let's go with the first team. Over to you, Raghavan.
So let's start with whichever team wants to volunteer. Leadership is about volunteering.
I will go first. We were group 2 with Archana as a mentor. So the scenario for us was an organization launches a leadership and ethics culture program under strict policies, KPIs, and mandatory training. Completion metrics are high, but engagement drops and informal resistance grows. So we had discussed on this, and why is this problem not straightforward? Because it's about a transformation of culture in the organization. So it was a we all concluded that it's a complex, window that it comes under in that Cynefin model. And sorry, that's the second point. The first point is that it's not a straightforward because it's very unknown, and the problem statement is unknown, the solution is unknown, and the problem is also unknown, and hence it was categorized as complex. And what leadership approach was misapplied? It was very commanding and kind of a directive leadership where everybody were asked to just do a tick mark like a training program. And it was very KPI driven kind of an exercise that was initiated as part of this launch. And what could have been done instead, I would say it is more about facilitating. It had to be more on an experimental basis and allowing the people to build on trust. I think the trust factor was also missing, and it needed to emerge over a period of time. It just cannot be dictated as to be done on a certain time bound basis. Um, and what could have been an optimal decision using the Cynefin model? I think the model that we it comes under because of its complex. It's a probe, sense, and respond. So I think a few suggestions that came is that it has to be a top-down approach whenever there's a cultural transformation because it's a journey, and it can't be just exercised overall in the larger organization, just launched like a program. And there needs to be more communication and maybe a small cohorts where this is getting more implemented in small groups and then extended to the larger organization, and continuous awareness and communication, and more of a getting everyone together than just making the people feel the perception built like it's a mandate and you just need to do, or it's just as an enforced kind of a way. You cannot build a culture in the organization. I think that's the summary of what we put.
I think very well summarized. Couple of points. Okay, see, right up front, it was said there is no right or wrong answer. It is the approach to this scenario is what is more important. In this particular scenario, see, please understand in this Cynefin model, it is not a solid watertight blocks, each of that. It is a continuum. Okay. So what is clear can become complex or complicated. It need not follow one particular circuit. It can move from one to another in any direction, in any way, depending on what is emerging as a landscape. Okay. So therefore, you don't have to think linear. In this particular case, culture change, apart from while applying the Cynefin model, it would have been worthwhile looking at the leadership behaviors required at this particular thing. Okay, so one is while you are probing and then sensing and then deciding and doing something. What is more important is an iterative approach. Okay, the culture change doesn't happen over a quick time. Culture change does not happen through decrees and the circulars and notices being put all over the place. Culture change does not happen by putting some advertisements and cutting cakes and things like that. So there is a 3C and a D approach. That is, you consult the right people at the right time, communicate the right things at the right time, champion it. Okay, because the top down comes from if you want culture to be changing, the top has to demonstrate that the top is behaving differently. Okay, so therefore the championing starts from top and then encouraging more champions. Okay, then the D is decision, because the decision is where the top acts really very clearly. The decision not to decide at the top but push the decision down is also a decision. So, in a culture change initiative, if you want to make a change across the organization at the appropriate levels, you need to say that I am not making this decision. While I can make this decision, I am not making this decision because you are the person or persons to make the decision, please make the decision. So that 3C and a D, that is very, very important to in a scenario that is you are talking about. The leadership behaviors are very, very important. I think the approach is good, and the another important thing is look at problems and solutions in a kind of a 2x2, okay, known and unknown, and then what should be and how it should be looked into. Okay. Yeah. Right. Thank you.
All right. Each team will have about 8 minutes, but that also includes the questions for your assignment. So I would say let's close it at around 6 minutes. So I'll show 4, 5, 6. All right. Timing. All right. Team 1 and 5. Team 1 and 5. Who take the lead?
Can I go?
Yes, Shilpa, go ahead.
Okay. So the question given to us was, just a second, please. Now, a mid-sized organization has a robust SOP-driven compliance process. Audits have always passed, and over time, staff stopped questioning the unusual transactions because they tick all the boxes. 6 months later, a regulatory inspection identifies a major AML breach involving transactions that technically complied with all the SOPs but were suspicious in context. Now, the first question is, what is the Cynefin domain? Which Cynefin domain best describes how leadership viewed this situation? Now, what we have concluded is this ideally falls under the complex category, but the leadership viewed it as a simple process because they were just looking at it. It looked at it as a clear under that domain. They looked at it as clear. The second question is, was the diagnosis correct? Ideally, this should have been a complex situation because the patterns are emerging over time. And in this, the context matters and judgment is critical. And this cause and effect can only be understood in retrospect. So their diagnosis was wrong. They viewed a complex domain as a very simple domain. Now, the third question is, what signals were ignored? The signals were over period, the employees became very complacent and they viewed it as a just tick in the box kind of thing because audits were passing and they didn't look at AML as something that involves a lot of human judgment apart from this regular compliance. Just, SOPs would put things into order. That was not how it is supposed to be. So it became over time. I think they've just ignored all the things. Question number 4 is, what leadership action could have reduced the risk? Now, the leadership action, we have said, again, it should fall under the probe, sense, response approach because it's a complex situation. Now, the probe would have been like flagging these unusual transactions, finding the loopholes which could have caused them, and then looking at the cumulative effect of these transactions. It could have been a lot of smaller transactions, the financial impact of which could have been huge. And the sense part of it is looking for emerging patterns and sharing observation across teams and maybe introduce regular trainings. And the response part would be scaling up the escalation process. Now, there was no escalation process as such, it was just viewed as a routine thing. And then adjusting SOPs after this initial probing and dynamically adjusting it as per what the requirement comes up. And then do AML specific training so that you meet industry best practices. And again, it's strengthening the escalation channel. And the last question is, what could be the optimal decision? Optimal is, this is again a complex judgment heavy AML issue. And it was wrongly treated as a very clear one. So that created a false sense of certainty and a very laid back approach towards the whole thing. So ideally, they should have stressed on not just looking at it as a simple, straightforward thing. Instead, they should have weighed in the judgment part of it and taken decisions accordingly. So that is what we have summed up. If anybody else has to add anything, please do from group 1 and 5.
Is anybody adding anything? Okay. If not, see, there are two things. Two things very clearly stand out. The context, okay, is very, very important because you're talking about AML, okay, anti-money laundering, okay. So the business continuity can be at risk, okay. If the company is at fault, the regulators can come down heavily and then shut the business down. Okay, so from that very point of view, it is not a simple, clear kind of a situation. It could have been either complex or a complicated. Okay, depending on how one viewed it. And the second important thing is it is not a chaotic situation. It is not that nobody knew what to do, etc. Okay, so the approach is absolutely right. There was a lot of debate, and then you finally arrived at something. And the most important thing is the recommendation going forward. Okay, it has to be far more relatable to the contextual. This is where the leadership hat has to come in, not the employee hat. Okay, the leadership hat is I will act on it. The employee hat is I will escalate. Okay, escalation matrix is not a solution for these because you need to have a whistleblower mechanism internally which brings the matter straight up to the top, whereby you are able to stop something and then correct and then go back to normalcy. So that's my.
Shilpa,
Yes.
any questions, Shilpa? Or can we move ahead?
Yeah, you can move ahead. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Let's move to team 4 and 6. Who's team 4 and 6? Can we do it a little quicker? 4 and 6?
Yeah, I can go.
Who's
So,
I? Please tell me your name.
this is Aditya.
All right, Aditya. Let me just spotlight you. Right, I hope you know the timing.
Yes.
All
So,
right, go
quickly,
ahead.
I'll explain the scenario. Leadership faces a cross-border regulatory interpretation issue, and there are multiple experts which are providing different opinions, and there are leadership delays which have been happening. The decision is taking for months, and they are trying to seek the perfect clarity. And competitors have moved ahead and captured market share. So, in the group, we analyze that this is probably the problem of a startup which has been faced with a compliance problem statement when they're trying to move abroad and trying to sell their products. They have outsourced a lot of their analysis to experts, and the leadership does not have any experience in this field. So it is looking at a problem statement where they are trying to decipher what the experts are saying. So the first question is which Cynefin domain fits this problem. So it's basically a complex problem where there are uncertainty involved. The rules are changing every day, and there are multiple stakeholders in the room, and they are not able to take the right answer. So they are looking at what is the probable risk and what is the reward that we are going to get, and that's how nobody is able to take the blame in the leadership team, that if something goes wrong, who is to blame. So there's no clear accountability as well. The second question is what mistake was made in this domain. So the mistake that was made in this domain is basically the leaders outsourced a lot of the decision making in a way to experts. So whatever the experts suggested, the different leaders in the team, they are trying to use that report as a basis for future judgment. So over analysis has been done, and that's why they feel that nobody is able to come to an agreement. And the second thing is there is no clear accountability. There is no probably a CEO who is able to direct the leadership team to look at only the success metrics, the key success metrics. Every leader is defining their own success metrics, and that's how they are not able to come to a consensus there. The third question is when does input become a risk? So expert input is becoming a risk where you are it's basically the question of outsourcing. Leadership does not want to take the blame. They want to delay accountability. At the end of the day, what's happening is everything is becoming theoretical analysis, and experts, they within themselves may be agreeing, may not be agreeing, and that's how leadership is also not able to come to a proper decision. So it's becoming a much more difficult problem to solve due to this expert input. The fourth question is, what would a better leadership response look like? So if we follow the probe, sense, and respond framework, we will start with probably running safe to fail experiments, doing some pilots in geographies where you know that there might be some measurable success. Then you establish some KPIs, success metric KPIs, and then you look at those metrics in terms of sense. What is the market saying? Where are the regulators pushing back? What are the users saying? You learn from that, and then you respond. You basically act. So you either iterate your strategies. You make sure that whatever you're doing grows. So you pull back the failed strategies and probably apply, accelerate the ones that are successful in that market. And the last question is, what would be the optimal decision using Cynefin framework? The optimal decision here is look at the risk reward ratio, select those pilot projects, trying to enter into the market with a limited scope. And if you feel that there is a regulatory pushback, you act very quickly. And then whatever is successful in that market, you try to pivot to that based on the real world signals. And then you have to accept that this is the way that we have to operate in this market, and then move forward instead of just relying on outsourced analysis decisions in terms of what to do next.
Right.
I would strongly encourage you to look at the chaotic corner, okay, and putting the leadership at the confused center, okay, and look at the case a little differently, because regulatory issues are not about experimentations. Regulatory issues are about compliance. If you do not comply, you run the risk of losing the business in that country, or probably a very deep litigation which can bankrupt you. So therefore, it is multiple geographies, so it is not very clear how difficult it is to comply with all. So if you look at the chaotic, and if you are willing to break it down into elements and make it a little bit more clear, then a decision about which are the geographies I'm not going to enter immediately, which are the geographies I'm going to enter immediately, and start prioritizing the regulatory compliances. And so very clearly from the leadership point of view, as the case suggests, the time was wasted on looking for a perfect solution meeting all regulatory compliances. Rather than that, it would have been acknowledged as, yes, it is chaotic. I'm trying to enter 10 different countries and I can't comply with all. So I'm going to enter 3 countries with major upside potential and enter the rest in phased manner. So that would have probably solved the problem. That's my take.
Okay, sure.
All right. Let's
Thank
move
you.
on to the next team, Team 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Team 3, Karthik.
Yes,
All right.
I'll
You
go
know
ahead.
the timing, right?
Yes, Jyotika,
Okay, please go ahead.
perfect. Hello, Leapers, especially to hello, Raghavan. So basically, I'm representing Group 3, and the theme igniters is what we call ourselves as. So the case what have been presented here is the first 24 hours. Before I read ahead about the scenario, I want you all to actually be into it, okay? So the scenario is like a company experiences a public data breach. So leadership spends the first 24 hours analyzing the reports and debating messaging, and the public backlash escalates, and also regulators have to intervene. So basically imagine yourself like you have your credit card, but the data has been, like your credit card information has been gone to the wrong hands, right? So the first question is that which domain best describes the first 24 hours? So here we have to stabilize the situation first and then think later. So the best domain, what we have opted as a group is that it's a chaotic domain, right? And then what should be the leadership have prioritized immediately is that, so they had to lock the data down and then hold more of leakages, and then also inform to the public with minimal information so that they are well in sync. and also give a positive fix saying that there is no more data breach happening. We are all, the company is under control. And also later point of time, we can have actually do the root cause analysis. So coming to the third question, which is the cost of delay, there are multiple scenarios. So the first one being, there were a lot of chances where if we don't take action, there is a lot of data breach can happen. And then it can also hamper the cost of regaining the situation. Like we have to spend a lot of money to get back whatever is lost. And the third point is that, and the very important point is the company's credibility and the trust, what has been built, that must have been totally compromised. And also the reputation of the company itself must have been taken a big hit. And also the regulators have to jump into this scenario wherein the company can handle the situation if at all they must have taken care in the first 24 hours. So in that case, the people was unsure of it, and also the regulators have to join in this scenario. And also there are a lot of scenarios where there must be the false reports can happen. For example, if there is a number which has been the data breach, say for example, it's around 10,000, then they can give out as 1 lakh is the data breach which has happened. So this kind of false impression must have been taken care of. And the next question is how we can stabilize the situation faster is that we can actually create the press conference, give the public the awareness of what exactly has happened, and then we can narrow down the problems rather than giving out to the social medias all that false information or false image of the company. And also we have to ensure that there is a strong firewall in place so that there is no more data breach can happen in the further course of action. And also we have to work as a team to achieve it as a success. And the last question, which is optimal decision using a kind of a framework, is that it's a novel practice where these are the unknowns to knowns, where we have to act first and then sense the situation and then respond to it. So the scenario was like there was a data breach, and then there was a company credibility is going down. Then the regulators have to jump in, and also there was a public outcry. So we have to control these kind of damages and avoid the loss, bring it to stability. So we have to act immediately. So this is what is the case all about. Thank you. Over to you, Raghavan.
Thank you. So you identified this as chaotic. Yes, it fits more into chaotic. So the approach was perfectly okay. So the one thing I would like to suggest here is, since the domain was identified pretty much early on, a little bit of focus on leadership behaviors during that could have definitely helped in your Leap 3.0 journey, rather than just looking at the case in isolation, and your post assignment, whichever you would like to pursue, would have definitely helped. And I'm sure you would do that as you go forward. Otherwise, Jyotika is not going to leave you alone. Okay, so notwithstanding that, here the most important thing is the leadership hat is about the data breach is affecting the company, yes, but more affected are the people whose data have been breached. Okay. And second, the regulators. So prioritizing the stakeholders and then acting on those issues is far more important than just looking at the reputation of the company alone. The reputation of the company is very important. Without that, the company cannot survive. But what is more important is how do you assure that the data which has been breached is not actually affecting the customers or whosoever's data has been breached very badly, and being transparent about it. So I very strongly encourage putting the leadership hat in looking at that, rather than being a part of the group and looking at the problem.
Thank you, Raghavan. Point noted.
Thank you. Let's move on to the last team, team 7 and 9.
Yes.
Who would like to take the lead?
Sujit?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, our question was everyone is right, and our scenario is scenario leaders disagree on
Sujit,
how
can I, Sujit, 1 second. Can I request you to just put the frame properly, a screen, because half of your face is covered, so you can sit
Is it
properly.
okay right now, ma'am?
Yes. Perfect. Go ahead.
Okay. Our case is case 5, and it is everyone is right. And in scenario leaders disagree to how to respond to decline performance. Each pushes a different solution based on their own experiences. Meetings go in circles and no decisions are made. So we have questions, and the first question is, which domain does it comes under? What we have written is it comes under confused, moving into complex, because leaders are facing situations when the team feels like a single unit under attack from multiple fronts. It is unclear which domain applies at first, creating a confused state. As patterns are not obvious and multiple interruptions exist, the situation settles into the complex domain. Now the second question comes is, why this state is dangerous? Nothing makes immediate sense, leading to confusions and frustrations. There is no clear direction or visible end goal, which can demotivate the team. Prolonged confusion can lead to interaction, push the system towards chaos if pressure increases. How the problem can be broken down? Attack the issues from multiple fronts simultaneously rather than seeking one perfect solution. Examine leadership and personal biases, and past success can distort judgment. Consult even the least influential stakeholders, as weak signals often emerge from the edges. Break the larger problems into smaller components that can be tested independently. What leaders should do? Sorry. Accept this is a fluid situation with no immediate right answer. Encourage high experimentation and safe to fail probes. Allow for ad hoc decisions where necessary while closely observing outcomes. Shift focus from control to learning and adaptation. Prioritize options. Biases have to be understood. And Cynefin aligned approaches probe, sense, and respond. Try multiple small experiments. Observe what works, what doesn't. Amplify successful patterns. Abandon failing approaches quickly. This is what we found out. Thank you.
Okay. I think the confused state of the leadership and moving on to complex quickly was a very good approach. Actually, you have really gone through some depths of the framework. Okay, so now my suggestion is continuing on that. Again, I'm repeating myself. Put the leadership hat. Okay, the challenge of leadership is assuming leadership. Nobody is going to come and tell us that you are the leader, you will do so. Okay, if the leader does not assume the leadership, unfortunately, somebody lower down assumes the leadership, the leader loses his credibility. Because for a leader, losing the position is far less serious than losing the credibility and continuing as a leader. Okay, so therefore, I mean, I'm not, this is not a feedback only to you. I'm using this opportunity to demonstrate to everybody who is willing to listen that leadership is about taking that responsibility seriously and then discharging it. Nobody is going to tell us, okay, nobody is going to tell us that you are the leader. Nobody is going to tell us that you are the leader, therefore you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. The second important thing is, even if you are not a leader, you start assuming that situational leadership, some things which are under your control, and you are able to gain control of that and solve a problem or move forward or create something better. You are demonstrating that you are a leadership material and you will be noticed. Okay, that's how people grow as leaders in the organizations, not by the number of years of experience and the kind of diplomas and degrees that we carry, but it is more about how do we practically demonstrate to the larger stakeholders that yes, this is the leadership material. I've seen this guy or a girl doing this, and therefore I think we should give him or her a chance to do something. Right? That's my feedback. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rajan.
All right. Congratulations. Time noted. I think everyone has maintained the time. And above all, Raghavan, you have been to the dot. Thank you very much. A very fruitful session. We will now move on to some questions that you may have regarding your assignments. But before that, any question on this particular model? Anyone wants to ask anything to Raghavan while he's here?
Some hands are going up.
All right, Bhavna, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Hi, Raghavan, sir. So here the last scenario that we dealt was every leader was throwing their suggestions. So why don't that get into a complicated where people were running through the decisions? Why should it be moved to complex?
Okay, I mean, the choice is yours, whichever way you want to look at it. Okay, that's why I said it is a continuum. It is not a kind of a watertight compartment where you put in this and then there is some formula to solve that problem. Okay, this is not like this is a differential calculus problem and that is an integral calculus problem or algebra problem. This is a continuum. So therefore, in this particular scenario, if you really look at it, everybody is throwing this his weight or throwing his suggestion, and no decision is being made. Can also be chaotic. Okay,
Yes.
which is very classic chaos. Okay, but how you view it and how you respond to it is important. So the purpose of this framework is not to classify in black and white. This problem belongs here. The purpose is to give a guidance. But if you feel that it's not working, you need to be willing to move quickly away from that and move into something else.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Thank
And
you.
then another important thing is the clear, complex, complicated, all this is about problem and solution. The known problem, known solution, it is clear. Okay. The problem is unknown, known solution. How can it happen? There is a white smoke coming and you don't know whether it is coming from fire or something else is leaking, some gas is leaking. So first you need to find out. So then you know the problem. That is complicated. The complex is unknown problem, unknown solution. Okay, chaotic is known problem, unknown solution, essentially because people are not willing to look at the problem closely, right?
Yeah, now it makes a lot of sense. Yes, so we should not stick to one particular. The problem is not resolved, then we have to again realign within the quadrant and find it. Thank you.
Precisely the reason why the consultative approach and then deciding quickly. We act only when you start acting, and the action should not kill the whole business. Okay, so there is a balancing act. I mean, the leadership is all about the right balancing act.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Ram. Thank you.
All right. Anyone has any question here? Right. Looks like the session has been very effective, Raghavan. Looks like everyone has understood it quite well, or they don't want to come forward with a question. This is your chance. Please ask the question.
I'm willing to stay back and answer the question if there is a question. I don't want to be running away. I mean, my time is not the thing, but your time, you have a cutoff. So,
Anyone? All right. Let's now move on to the assignment part of it. You have, I hope you've got time. You found some time to look at the assignment and see how to chart your growth story. Anyone has any question that you would like to ask? Because much of what you will do again is based on the model, on the framework. So would you like to ask questions? Yes, Karthik, is that a hands up or it's?
No, I said I went through the case.
Okay, all right, great. Any questions?
Yeah, Jyotika, I think what we need to remember is what Raghavan said. These domains are not carved in stone.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I think we need to remember that. He was stressing that.
True.
That's wonderful to know.
All right. So I would like to also specifically thank our mentors today because this has been, I'm sure it has been a challenging exercise and challenging model, at least to understand. But you've done a good job. The way everyone has articulated themselves definitely says that you have been in the case and spoken about it. There's something that really stood out for me today, and which actually we're trying to achieve at this stage of Leap 3.0 is the shift in the way you think. And that is something that Raghavan has specifically mentioned. and it cannot be any other time. This came at the right time. Shift in the way you think like a leader. Not complaining, do not complain and leave it for others to solve the problem, but take ownership and accountability. I think when we started this program, there are 3 words that I used to repeat, and that is responsibility, ownership, accountability. And I think what we did today ties on to what is the larger picture or larger objective of this program. Again, practicality, practically demonstrate to larger stakeholders. And I like what Raghavan particularly mentioned here. Challenge of leadership is assuming leadership. That's so important. You cannot lose credibility and then continue as a leader, because there's no point. You wouldn't make an impact. And talking about influencing without a title, that practically is impossible if you lose your credibility. So with that, I would like to really close the session, but thank you very much, Raghavan. Again, you were here, you spent time with us. This was a second session. I know you're a busy person, but you did that for us. And I'm really happy that whatever objective was planned for this session and this particular month, I think we have achieved it. I'm very sure that we've achieved it.
Thank you.
I would now leave the, yes, Raghavan.
One last word. The post assignment I also went through as somebody was going through that step by step.
Okay.
Very powerful. I sincerely request every one of you to go through that very, very, very carefully, because it's not about the rungs of a ladder. Okay. It is about the different mindsets at a different level. Okay. So please look at it from leadership behaviors which are required. The last 2 lines, very, very powerful lines. The leadership reflection is not about what you learned. Because if you look at your Leap 3.0 program, you started about discovering yourself, and then you started learning about influencing without authority, knowing the systems, changing the systems, influencing the system, all that, and then the organizational awareness, as part of which we talked about last week and this week. But the culmination is how you as an individual elevate your thinking as even before you reach that level. Okay. It costs nothing to elevate your thinking. Okay. You're not even lifting a weight. Okay. So you are not even going to physically do anything. It is elevating your thinking. That is the most important thing. And it is the most difficult thing. So this exercise is extremely, extremely powerful. Please do not do it as a routine. Please spend some time on it and do it. And I wish you guys all the best, and would happy to see you all as leaders in one way or other. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Raghavan. You said it all. Think like a leader, and that is the biggest challenge in the entire leadership journey, is to think like a leader. Now, when you start thinking like a leader, you start taking ownership of what you're doing. So with that, I think it's time to conclude the session. Once again, Raghavan, thank you. We can unmute ourselves and say thank you to Raghavan.
Thank you.
Cheer for
Thank
him.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's definitely a noble deed that you're here, spending so much of time with us. Practically 4 to 5 hours you've given from the last session and this session, and so many other number of hours in discussion as well. So thank you for being so approachable and cooperative as well. So it was so easy to work with you, Raghavan, and curate the session along with you. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
with that, Merry Christmas, season's greetings, and we'll see you in the year 2026. Happy New Year. Don't forget to change your calendar. Take care
Yeah.
and
Bye-bye.
good night.